All right, good morning, family. Hopefully you can hear me here. Having a couple difficulties going live this morning. So up to this point, I've been going live to my personal Facebook page every single morning because that's where the bulk of the people that follow me on Facebook are. And as I tried to go live this morning, for whatever reason, it just wouldn't go live. So now I'm going live from the Nathan Ivey Show page, which, coincidentally was exactly my plan anyway. You never can tell. It's so many haters in the game out there. I got so many enemies in the city that I have no idea what that is all about. But again, the show goes on. So we're live on the Nathan Ivey Show page, which was my plan anyway. This is happening a little earlier than what I expected. We're also live on YouTube this morning. We're not on Spreaker. I think I figured out the issue with my audio, and that's my mixer that's been so good to me for the last really 4 years has, I think, gone bad. Maybe something's been blown in it. So I'm going to replace that as soon as possible so we can get back to doing that audio straight on Spreaker and also on TuneIn. But for this morning, family, the show goes on. So please, this morning is going to be even more important for you to like and share today's show just to make sure that people can find me. All right. Because we're live on the Nathan Ivey Show, which is the official Facebook page for the show anyway. And as I said, that was my plan, but things are moving a little faster than what I intended. Just give me a second here because I tried to go live to my personal page, and for whatever reason, Facebook, whatever, would not allow me. And Facebook doesn't. Yeah, there it is. Facebook doesn't. When they make these moves, they don't really tell you. They don't really tell you like, hey, Nate, we're going to block you or whatever. I guess sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can have your websites blocked and all kind of things. But there's so many haters in the game. I got so many new enemies and enemies in the city. Ain't no damn telling, and I don't really give a damn because the show goes on anyway. They can't stop what's about to happen. So good morning to you. 513-873-7134 if you want to share your thoughts this morning. We are not live on the Nathan Ivey Show Facebook page. We're live on the Nathan Ivey Show, which is the official Facebook page for the show. And like I said, to the haters, I had planned on doing this anyway. So y'all ain't doing nothing but helping me out. I appreciate it. It's funny when people try to do dirt, they end up opening more doors for you and really pushing you in an avenue that you should be in anyway. So we'll see. Perhaps I'll go live from the Nathan Ivey Show page moving forward. But for now, I'm on the Nathan Ivey Show page. Please share it so everybody knows where we are. Most people are used to getting the show from a notification on my personal page. But this works even better, quite honestly. So shout out to the haters. Who knows? Somebody might have reported me for putting up some malicious content, which of course I don't do. But we'll see. Maybe it's just an error that happened this morning and it's something minor and small. I don't know. And we'll figure it out later. Oh, okay. Hey, Janae, I'm getting your message right now. Okay. Almost deaf. Just let me know. So tomorrow is going to be, I want to put this out. I've already contacted all the people who have registered. Tomorrow is going to be the first tactical gun course training that we're going to be doing with Ride or Die LLC. Hold on. Let me put me on the screen here this morning. Hey, there you go. And I just want to say thanks to all the people who signed up. We're looking forward to it. I know Forte and Joe are looking forward to it. And this is the next step in your gun training. We did a CCW class, and now this is the first tactical training class. And we'll be out on the course tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. If you are signed up and you did not, and I don't believe that this is going to really happen, but I'll just say it anyway. But if you signed up and you paid your deposit and you feel as if you have not been contacted, then please let me know. I don't want to leave anybody out. Who has already signed up. But I believe I've done my due diligence and I've contacted everyone via email and also on Facebook. So you have all the instructions and directions and information that you need so we can have a good time tomorrow. It's all about safety. And I think the first step of safety is, order and having things in line and people know what to expect and they're not caught off guard and things like that. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll be out there for about 4 hours tomorrow. I'll post photographs and images for those who are into that kind of stuff, but I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully this will be the first step. For people who are like, Nate, damn, I want to do tactical training. Well, on the first one, if you're not already signed up, you're going to miss out on this one. But what I'm hoping is, if this goes well, if it's a good experience for everybody, then perhaps we can offer more partnerships and classes with Ride or Die into the future. There's no reason why we have to stop. Looking forward to it. Lots of stuff to discuss today, not the least of which is John Gray. This black man is in the media again. And let me just say it up front and plain. To all men, stop blaming the devil for the dirt that you do. Just own it. I don't want to hear about no spirits. I don't want to hear about no damn witchcraft. Yeah, John Gray actually was blaming witchcraft or some other nonsense. I watched the video, and this is like the third time. Is this the same woman? Is this a different woman? Clearly, this man has some human frailty, as we all do. As we all do. I'm not saying that John Gray's is any different than any other man. We all have our frailties. I get it, but damn, black man, again? And I'm less concerned about his infidelities or his emotional affairs. Remember, that was back, what was it, early in the year, he admitted to having an emotional affair. Why would you go on daytime television to talk about an emotional affair? Nobody gives a damn about no damn emotional affair. What does that mean anyway? You fell in love with a woman? And the embarrassment to his wife. What I say is, do your dirt and own it. If you're going to do your dirt, own it. If you're the kind of dude that does dirt or you do stuff behind your wife's back, do it. You know what I'm saying? But this seems to be like a cycle with this man, where he does some dirt, he gets caught, he goes before the congregation, he goes on the talk or the reel, I'm not perfect, and it all just seems like a sad cycle. You know what I'm saying? Get off the damn cycle, man. Either go the Jeff Pastor route and admit that you're polyamorous and y'all polyamorous Christians or whatever, or just own it. Stop. I hate it when I hear these grown men, number one, apologizing for being a man. And then number two, blaming the spirits. The devil got bigger fish to fry than making John Gray hook up with some women in some hotel. I gotta believe that the devil, if there is a devil, has bigger plans in mind than making John Gray cheat on his wife. Stop it. And you're making the city look bad, homie. He's from Cincinnati. He loves to say it. Stop saying that. Tell people you from Louisville or from Dayton. Yeah. You from Dayton. Stop repping Cincinnati with this nonsense, John Gray. Now, I know there's a lot of people in the audience that maybe knew John Gray. Maybe you went to University of Cincinnati. Maybe you were in the choir. Shout out to Dr. E. And I don't care. This is my honest thoughts. It is what it is. It is what it is. And stop blaming these women. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they may have some blame to play, maybe a little bit here or there, but they ain't making you do nothing. They ain't making you do nothing. Shout out to Larry Reed, man. I remember watching one of his videos on YouTube a few months ago where he played an audio tape of John Gray calling his jump off, his girlfriend, his side piece, his emotional affair, however you want to look at it, his friend. And he's like, oh, well, the wife has your phone number. Like, what the hell is this, a Cold War CIA agent? The wife got your phone number, FYI, Z92, like some damn codes or something. She knows I came to your hotel room. And if you having an emotional affair, why you got to meet in a hotel? It's just sad. Listen, it's hard for me to go to church anyway, because I don't trust human beings. You know what I'm saying? And I don't need a pastor to go to heaven. I don't need you. So since I don't need you to go to heaven, why am I here? Now, I do understand the utility in going to the Lord's house, to God's house, and worshiping with like-minded individuals, just like anything else. I can see the functionality and the resource of being around like-minded individuals. I get it. You go for the music. I get it. The feeling. You go for the feeling. I get it. But it's hard for me I can't just go to anybody's church. I just can't do it. You know, I just can't sit there and listen to another human being tell me what they think about the Bible when I know that what you think about the Bible don't mean jack in terms of me getting to heaven. Why would I listen to it? That's like taking relationship advice from a 10-year-old. Why would I listen to that nonsense? I don't need you. My road to salvation and heaven has nothing to do with no pastors and no preachers out there. You are not a part of the equation at all. I don't need you. When I die, the pastor or the bishop or whoever is not going to materialize and then be a part of conversation with my creator. It's going to be me and the creator. So why would I spend my time doing all that? Thinking about hearing about what you think about the interpretation of the Bible is. As I understand it, the Bible was made for each of us to interpret it the way it's supposed to be in our own life. You might read a Bible scripture and be like, oh, hey. And I might read the same scripture and be like, right? That's the way it was written. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't have to go to church to get to heaven. So what? Unless I got to have a deeper relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like I already told you. I mean, you know, I'm not a member of a church, but if I was, there's only one church in Cincinnati I'd be a part of, and that's because I have a personal relationship with the pastor. I know him to be a stand-up, spot-up guy. Other than that, I ain't got time for it. I wish you the best. I won't be there. I'm just telling you. I don't know you. That's just me. Call me whatever you want to call me. That's just how I roll. You know what I'm saying? Please stop. I could never go to John Gray's church because he just always doing some dumb-ish. Remember when he was up there cheesing with Trump? He cacking with Trump? That would have been a rap right there. I'm sorry. Run around buying what? Porsche SUVs. I'm like, wait a minute. Run around here with retro Jordans on. I'm like, wait a minute. Damn, Pastor. He got on $2,000 shoes. I can't do that. I can't do it. I mean, you know, the Lord and Oprah Winfrey blessed him. Even didn't Oprah drop him? Says something because Oprah rides with everybody. I just can't do it. And then I hate the way it just makes men look. Just making us look bad, John. Once again, making us look bad. Making black men look like some old Birth of a Nation stuff out here. Like we can't control ourselves. No, you can't control yourself, John. Black men don't cheat. Say it with me this morning. It might be hard to do. Black men don't cheat. Black men don't cheat. Care what John Gray is doing. That's just John Gray. The vast majority of married black men are faithful to their queens. Period. Care what nobody says. I don't care what you say. I don't want to hear no evidence. I watched the sermon. I watched it on YouTube before the show. As much as I could stomach. And then I had to roll on it. I just couldn't be a part of that nonsense, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to see it. I know some of you folks as John Gray fans because you went to school with him or you was in the UC choir with him. Okay, you can do that. You know, go right ahead. But I'm like, yo, B, get it together, man. Have some self-control and stop lying. Oh, it was an emotional affair. Uh-huh. Sure it was. It always is. Sure it was. I don't believe it. And like, maybe you should go to Jeff Pastor route. Speaking of which, I'm mad at y'all. I'm mad at the choppers because nobody told me that, and I heard this from someone just yesterday, that somebody called into the Lincoln Ware show, a woman, and basically put Jeff Pastor on blast. Is that true? Nobody told me this. And if you put it in the comments and I miss it, it's on me. And I don't know if that's true or not because I'm getting it secondhand. I did not hear it from myself. But if it is true, I'm not surprised, Jeff, at all. Because you've been running around here with your Wakanda Forever tattoos on your chest. I told you. We are grown. We've done all of this. We can see right through this. Run around talking about how you polyamorous, working out. You better get down there to City Hall and work on some damn policy, man. Stop posting these ridiculous videos of yourself working out. We don't care. Get down to City Hall and work out some policy. You know what I'm saying? That's what you should be doing. Showing off his tattoos and his back muscles. Who you doing this for? Your girlfriend? Is this why you all of a sudden talking about how you polyamorous, trying to get out ahead of the story? Do you think we stupid? We not dumb. We know we've been through this. We grown. What's wrong with these men? Y'all making us look bad out here. I don't know if it's true or not. That's what I was told. Did that really happen? I'm going to have to call Lincoln and get the scoop on it. I know he was cracking up. That is hilarious. I wish he'd call me. I'm going to tell you, I'm about that sizzle. I'm just telling you. I'm about all that sizzle. And if it's true, I ain't surprised because we see you. We see you. Polyamorous, what the hell? Oh, you trying to get out in front of the story, B. You ain't slick. You think we don't know? We don't even have to know anything about it, but we can read the tea leaves and read the signs. There's a lot of smart people out here. Run around here with your Wakanda Forever tats on, looking like T'Challa. That's not what we got. Well, those who voted for you. That's not what they voted for you, Jeff. They voted for you to deliver policy, equity, policy, intangibles. That's not why people voted for you. We'll see how it all works out, man. I didn't hear the conversation. Deborah writes, enemies though? Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. There's some people out there that would love, man, they want to see me fail so badly. No doubt about it. 100%. Some of them are some of these self-loathing black folks, unfortunately. And some of them are political enemies because they don't like my politics and they hate the fact that the show has an audience and things like that. I believe me, trust me on that. You could take that to the bank. No doubt about it. It's quite hilarious. Good morning, Kendall, on YouTube. You hear me talking about John Gray?
Don't even involve me.
The wifey knew John Gray. When they went to, knew is probably the best way of saying it. Thank you so much, wifey. You should see her face. Yeah, stop embarrassing us. Stop embarrassing Cincinnati with your nonsense, man. Get your ish together, B. Here's what I say. Iyanla Vanzant. I have come to appreciate Iyanla Vanzant. She is a very intelligent woman. John Gray should do an intervention with Iyanla Vanzant for two reasons. Number one, it'd be great TV. And number two, I think maybe her tough love approach could maybe wake this black man up. I'm sick and tired of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, go to Jeff Pastor route and say you're polyamorous. At the very least, stop apologizing. Damn it. It's like every 3 months, this man's in the media talking about, oh, I'm sorry, and I'm on a personal journey. I'm not there yet. Okay, we all are. We get it. Damn it. You make it hard for all of us out here, man. But say it with me, y'all. Black men don't cheat. Black men don't cheat. Black men don't cheat. Say it with me. Black men don't cheat. I don't care what John Gray is doing. I want to get your thoughts on that. I may play some of the audio for you. It was ridiculous. At some point, he started talking about witchcraft. Witchcraft? We talking about witchcraft? This man said, he mentioned witchcraft. I almost fell out of my chair. Witchcraft. So witchcraft made you get a girlfriend. Some people want to blame the women. Like these women out here taping them. Well, they can't tape you if you ain't doing nothing. You're the one that's famous. You got more to lose. So get you some self-control. Get you some self-control. Simple as that. You know what time people scandalous out here. And there are women out there that love them some married men. There are women out there that love them some married men. They love them a man that is unattainable. They love whatever that makes them feel to be with another, to have the attention of another woman's man or something like that. They love all that. There's women out there like that. You know what I'm saying? And there are women out there that just have they have an irresistible quality to them. I've seen it. I'm a man, 100%. I've seen it. I've been around it. There are women out there that's just like, damn, I get it, John, but you got to have self-control, bro. You can look at John and see he ain't got no self-control. Got to have self-control, man. It's real simple. Say it with me, y'all. Black men don't cheat. Hey, listen, as you come into the stream this morning, Please do me a favor and share this. I'm streaming to the Nathan Ivey Show. Again, I'll have to figure it out afterward, but I wasn't able to go straight to my normal personal Facebook page. Not sure. Maybe I've been blocked or something like that. I don't really know. I'm not really sure. Hey, caller, please give me a second. Hey, Drop, give me 1 second. I'll bring you straight on, brother. I just need 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's Drop on the line. We'll talk to him in a second. So I'm not on my usual space, which is my personal Facebook page. So I'm going straight to the Nathan Ivey Show page, which was my plan anyway. I'm not sure if somebody might have reported me on some dumb ish, because people do these phantom reports and stuff like that because they hate or they don't like your content. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe I just didn't see it. But the show goes on. Also, we're not on Spreaker because I think I figured it out. My mixer, which, damn, this mixer's been good to me, yo. You've been good to me for these last few years. Appreciate you and all your hard work. But I might have to scrap it and get a new one. We'll figure it out over the weekend. All right. But the show goes on. So we're live on YouTube this morning and we're live on Facebook, The Nathan Ivey Show, which is where I wanted to put it anyway. I told you that. I told you I was going to migrate the show there anyway. So let's do it. Let's do it. I don't want to spend all day talking about John Gray because I don't really have a lot more to say about it. And there's a lot more, other issues I want to talk about. I want to give you a little bit of a weekend review. Everything from Chadwick Boseman. Don't forget what we talked about on Monday, yo. Take care of yourself, black man. Take care of yourself. Stay away from that processed meat. You know what I'm saying? Exercise regularly. And I might reiterate some of the foods that you should eat to help to prevent getting colon cancer like Chadwick Boseman had. And as we came into the week, remember the big conversation with Chad around, or one of the conversations, around Chadwick Boseman was that you had Black Twitter and some people on Facebook that was trying to say that Sean King was exploiting the death of Chadwick Boseman. And since then, if everybody's exploiting it, right? ABC did like what? They did the Black Panther movie with no ads. They did ads before and after the movie, but no ads during the movie. Netflix, all these different streaming services, these YouTube channels. Everybody is like putting up more Chadwick Boseman content. Are they exploiting it too? Ain't nobody saying that. I'm just telling you, people need to stop. We got to talk about that. Within the last 24 hours, there's been some interesting moves here in the city of Cincinnati with our city leaders as it relates to gun violence. And the mayor had a press conference standing next to the chief, the Black police chief, Chief Elliot Isaac. And he has now declared his strategy on how he's going to deal with it. And looks like they're going to throw $1 million at it. It's so funny, man, because when people start talking about it's funny that like you'll hear people say stuff like, well, you can't throw money at these problems when people talk about homelessness and poverty and some of the social issues. People will say, well, you can't throw money at it, but we ain't got no problem throwing money when it comes to quote unquote stopping violence by police overtime or paying for more lawyers to lock people up. And that's what your city leaders are going to do. They pledged about $1 million to try to get tough on crime, essentially. And to me, what about ShotSpotter? Do we still need ShotSpotter? What role does that play? They told us that ShotSpotter was going to prevent the crime because it's going to allow the police to show up super fast. But now they're throwing another $1 million at it. I think $200,000 or $300,000 is going to go to a street team, and they want to pay for more lawyers, federal prosecutors to get tough on gun violence and those that have guns illegally and all this kind of stuff. And none of that is a long-term solution. That's a Band-Aid, $1 million Band-Aid. That's all it is $1 million Band-Aid. And it might have an impact. We're going to get more police patrols and hot spots and stuff like that, and that'll be great. $1 million Band-Aid. And next year, we'll be right back in the same spot with no real long-term strategies. Am I wrong in this? Tell me what you think, family. 513-873-7134. Anthony writes, morning, chop shop. Deborah writes, hey, good morning. Didi writes, greetings. No speaker today? No, Didi. I think that I have figured it out. I'm very fond of this mixer. It's my first mixer I ever bought for the show. But I think it's time to replace her. We're gonna do what we got to do. I'm gonna run a couple, maybe one or two more tests, and after that, I think I figured it out because it's just doing some weird things with my audio. Jared writes, "Good morning, hashtag Team and I." Kendall writes, "Good morning, Kendall." Deborah writes, "Enemies though." I read that already. Ray writes, "Grand risings all." Pat writes, "Good morning." FG writes, "Good morning, good people." Renee writes, "Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday." It is a happy Friday. Brenda writes, "Happy Friday." Kendall Clark writes, "Good morning" on YouTube. Samantha writes, "Good morning, all. Happy Friday." Stephen writes, "Good TGIF, Nate and the Choppers." D writes, "Time to sit himself down and deal with his ish." Yeah, speaking of John Gray, all day, every day. I mean, damn, black man. Get your ish together. You that damn? Is it that strong? Is it that strong? Like somebody told me that John Gray was like a virgin or something before he got married. That could be the problem. I'm not a big fan of that. All right, let me go straight to the phones. We got Drop on the line. Hey, good morning, Drop. Welcome to the show. Yo, Drop. He just dropped the call. He just dropped the call. Maybe he'll call back. David writes, "Dude has a sex problem and is not being addressed properly. Some people can't handle the elevation to free access because they are now getting easily what they could not obtain. He needs therapy. He's an easy case. Therapy, insecurity. Some of these dudes is run around chasing ussy because they think that having sex with a woman will make them feel good about themselves. Rihanna said it best in the song, like trying to fix your inner issues with a bad B. Right? So the more beautiful she is, the more accomplished she is or whatever, if you can have intercourse with her or have sex with her, that makes you feel like a man. And being with a beautiful woman makes a man feel like a man. Don't get me wrong. I get that. I'm just saying, like, your self-worth and self-esteem is tied up in that. There's a lot of dudes out there, they swear they pimps, they max, they getting it down, and they insecure as hell. Super insecure. And the next conquest or sexual relationship is what they need to get that inner buzz to make them feel good about themselves. It's quite sad. It's quite sad. It really is. I don't know if that's John Gray or not, but I mean, listen, either go the Jeff Pastor route. I'm mad at y'all because nobody told me. Is this true? This is what I heard just yesterday. That a woman called into the Lincoln Ware show, I think it was Monday, and put Jeff Pastor on blast. I didn't hear it. I wish I did. I'm being honest with you. I didn't hear it, but I wish I did. Is that true? Can you confirm that? If it is true, I'm not surprised. We've been waiting on this. I told you so. Just looking at his videos online, working out. You got T'Challa, Wakanda Forever on your chest. We don't need to see all this, man. Get your ass down there and fight for some equity, policy, intangibles. That's all we care about from elected officials. I don't want to see you running up steps that you see. I don't want to see you working on your back muscles and doing dips. I don't give a damn about none of that. Get your ass down there and deliver some equity, policies, and tangibles, or we'll get somebody else to do it. Period. Period. Playing with grown folks, man. All right, let's go to the phone, see if we Drop call back. Hey, good morning, Drop. Welcome to the show. Hold on, let me make sure that people can hear you, man. I'm old school this morning. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Ivey.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Hey, good morning, Drop.
What's up, sir?
How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm sitting here, and I can't believe you on the Black Man Don't Cheat Again with Pastor Gray.
That's right.
But hey, it's right up your alley, Mr. Ivey. It's a hell of a topic for Friday. But your trials and tribulations on Facebook, now you know what it feels like to be a black Republican.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what it feels like. But speaking of black Republicans, Mr. Ivey, I don't know if you know that the hands-on candidate, Sleepy Joe Biden, is out of the basement and he's on the road. But guess what? He's chasing Donald Trump just like Glenn from Mason be chasing me. So yesterday, Mr. Ivey, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the part that they televised of his visit to Kenosha, Wisconsin, to meet with the Jacob Blake family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Ivey, I didn't see any footage of him actually with the family, but what I did see was like a little mini town hall in one of the community churches.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they're not playing on the mainstream media, you maybe have seen it, but the pastor that was controlling the town hall, they had people selected. It looked like maybe it was 20, 25 people in a room, socially distanced, wearing masks, the whole 9 yards. So the pastor calls on this one young lady, a young African-American lady in her 30s. She gets to the mic, right? And she says, thank you for being here, Mr. Vice President, but they gave me this piece of paper to read from, but I can't do it. I got to tell you the truth. So she went on and on with the truth of the people that's on the ground in Kenosha. She kind of reminded me of Iris Rowley. She had that type of speaking ability to address the real issues that are happening in the community. And just that one scene right there, Mr. Ivey, it tells you that the black divide in the Democrat Party is getting very, very wide, and the first gangster president, Donald Trump, is exploiting it. Now, I don't know if you know this, Mr. Ivey, but this is an article from Black Enterprise magazine, and they feature a new Hill Harris X poll showed 24% of black voters approve of the job Trump is doing as president, up from 15% approval in a survey conducted August 8th through the 11th. Trump also increased his approval with Hispanics by 2%, with a 30% overall rating among Hispanics. So, Mr. Ivey, the fact that Joe Biden was forced out of the basement and now he's chasing around the country with Donald Trump, and he's making appearances like this at that church. It's on YouTube, Mr. Ivey. It was about an hour and 10-minute long. And he's just, his energy is so low, Mr. Ivey. He had to sit down half of the time during the town hall. He didn't have a podium or anything like that. He didn't stand in the pulpit. But again, all I'm saying, Mr. Ivey, and I'm not going to take up too much of your time because I didn't hear you mention any of this in your monologue, but I'm just saying, Mr. Ivey, it's starting to tighten out here in these streets. And this election is 2 months away. Some states start mailing out their ballots, and I just hope everybody ready. And for Friday, I ain't got no job, but I'm retired, and I'm walking while retired. Drop Squad 52, dropping science to anyone who wants to catch it. Peace.
I appreciate it. Well, again, I disagree. I'm not sure that, and I didn't see it, but just because a black woman said she couldn't read from a piece of paper or a script that was given to her, how does that correlate into Trump having made some inroads with the black community? I am aware of that. I'm looking at the Black Enterprise article that you spoke of right now, but I was aware of some reporting about him doing better and getting a bump. I don't know if I necessarily believe it. I would have to dig into it a little bit deeper. What I would say at this point is I don't really give a damn about the polls. I only care about the results on November. Okay, was it November 2nd, election day, that evening? Those are the only numbers I care about, especially after 2016. Okay, these polls, depending on their credibility and their methodology, they might be a snapshot and give us some indication into how people are thinking. But without doing a deeper dive into it, I can't really tell you or give you a rubber stamp on each and every poll. I think the numbers that matter the most are the results on election night. And that's all that really matters. You know what I'm saying? I think the numbers that really matter the most are the turnout numbers with the respective parties. I think those are the numbers that are really going to really matter. These polls coming back and forth, I don't know. I don't know. Hill Harris, I'm not really sure. But I appreciate the phone call and the conversation, though. I really can't take that to heart. I'll be honest with you. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Remember what happened with Hillary, right? Everybody's running around saying it was going to be 80-point landslide and she had lost. So since then, I'm very suspicious of all the polls. The only numbers I care about, as I said now for the third time, is the conclusion. What actually happens on election night. Kelly writes, good morning. Tracy writes something that says he's from Cincinnati. Dominique is on YouTube, writes, what's up, Nate? This is the Minister of Information. Is that right? Is that right? The Black Family Library is on YouTube. Foundation writes, sounds like her has an addiction that his cheating has nothing to do with his wife. So I think you're saying that it sounds like he has an addiction, huh? Could be. Could be. Let's go to the phones and say good morning. Hey, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, Big Nate. What's up, man?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Who am I speaking with?
All right, man. CJ, man.
What up, CJ?
All right, brother, man. Hey, so I think that our focus is being misled. I think that we need to be focusing on that both candidates for president said contributed to and focus on the destruction of our neighborhood and our community. Joe Biden, he was the racist of our parents' time. Donald Trump is the racist of our time. What do you mean, CJ? Joe Biden, on every piece of legislation that came out since I've been born, 1976, his name has been on it. He worked with James Eastland out of Mississippi, a known segregationist racist. He made sure Joe Biden got on subcommittees that dealt with criminal justice in prison. He met with Strom Thurmond out of South Carolina, known segregationist and racist. A conservative racist, but still the action says it all. Their legislation says it all. Whatever you legislate is what you think of the situation. Now Joe Biden, now Trump, he didn't rent to us. He didn't want us to. He didn't want us to count his money according to mainstream media. I haven't investigated that yet. He has said racist epithets that's not even cool to say, trying to be president and trying to reach us at the same time. So I think we need to focus on what's going on in front of us, because it seems like mainstream media wants us to focus on Biden and Biden, but they're not bringing up about the busing that he did to my mother when she was a little girl going to school. She had to be bused way out to Half Park to go to school, and the Half Park kids had to come downtown to go to school. That's described as busting. It's for the audience if they didn't know what busting was, and he was trying to appease suburban constituents, and at the same time he talked with a fourth tongue. So I think I'm gonna hold my vote this year, Big Nate.
Really? Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's why I just want to know what you think, Big Nate.
I think that despite the history of what's happened between Joe and also Trump, I think that today, right now, there's some huge differences in what they represent for the country as a whole, and even potentially black voters. Not the least of which is the way they look at something called net neutrality, which is the idea that the internet should be an open, free information highway of public access. There's a huge difference between the two, between Joe and Donald Trump. And again, as a black digital creator that uses the internet to connect with people, to do what I do, is something that I think is very important. Here we are in the age of COVID-19. Everything is digital. Everything is virtual. I think it's very, very important. It's one of the biggest issues we're not talking about. It's so big, and that's how the big issues really are. So what I would invite people to do is to go to both of their websites and kind of look at what they say they're going to do and what they represent for today's policies, and kind of figure out whether you feel the same way I do, that there is a big difference. Because we can't go back and do anything about what Joe did in the past, and we can't do anything about what Trump's done in the past. It's all about the future. You know, what's the next 4 years going to be like for black folks, for black entrepreneurs? Who represents the better choice in terms of addressing the issues that we think are important today? And who do we believe will actually do what they say? I think that's what it's all about at this point. But I respect your decision, though.
And I would like you to straighten out a fact. So, is it a fact that when President Obama was in office and all the HBCUs had to keep going back and forth to get funding for their schools, and then when Donald Trump got in, they're saying that he gave them $35 billion. So is that true or is that false?
Okay, let me do a little research, because as I think about it, I just can't remember. But I do remember coming across a website. It was called HBCU Digest, and they had an article that read something like, you know, Obama or Trump, who's done more for HBCUs? And I remember reading it, but I don't remember what I read. So let me tap into it, and I'll try to give you some straight flows about it before the show ends.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm going to keep listening, Brother Nate. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you. That's CJ. Yeah, he's trying to, you know, Trump's trying to score big points saying he's doing stuff for the HBCUs. But one of the biggest issues of the day right now is the relationship between the black community and law enforcement. And I think there's difference in their rhetoric and their approach. There's a radical difference in the approach between Donald Trump and what we see from Obama. There's a radical difference, a huge difference between the two. You know, Obama felt like, you know, he should use the federal government to do as much as he can to put pressure on these individual police departments to try to force them to change. Trump came into office and said, oh, state issue, local issue, we ain't gonna do nothing. And that's what they've been doing, zero on it. So Joe Biden, from what I've read and understand, has more of a viewpoint closer to Obama's. So we can argue back and forth as to what the impact is going to be, or what it was. We can argue about that. It's debatable. But I think the intention and what you believe says a lot. To me, in terms of policy, the more I read about it, there's clear differences between Trump and Biden. Clear differences. It ain't even close on some of these issues. But too many people are getting caught with the headlines and the personalities and the flubs and, you know, who said this and who said that. What I think you should do is look at the policy. What are their policy proposals? And then analyzing whether those policy proposals are going to have a negative or positive impact on your life. You know what I'm saying? Go look it up. Go look, because it's on their websites. It's on their websites. And, you know, I think that the Republicans and Trump it's the same playbook. It worked with Hillary Clinton. They want to try it again with Joe Biden. They want you to believe that there's no difference between the two, and it's the same side of the coin. And hey, it's a toss-up. Who wins with that? Trump wins with that. He won with it against Hillary, and so he's going to try that playbook again. But I don't believe that that's true, in my opinion. Somebody's calling me and hanging up. Hey, call me back and I'll put you on. I just missed a phone call from what number is 885 number? If that's you, call me back. I'll put you straight on. Put you straight on. 513-873-7134. Also want to remind you, coming up today at 12:30, the Is It Just Me podcast with Donnie B. Of course, that's a show that's a Sin Digital Media original show produced by Sin Digital and promoted as well. And listen, if you're someone who likes strong Black opinions, that's exactly what you're going to get with the Donnie B Show. You're going to get a strong opinion on the politics of the day and a little bit of pop culture as well. And you can also give her a call. That's at 12:30 today, and it'll all be up on Facebook, the Is It Just Me podcast group, and also Sin Digital Media. All right? Check her out. All right, let me try this again and say good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan. This is Nicole Sanders.
Hey, Nicole, how you doing?
Judge.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's going on?
Well, I was just listening to your show. I have some time off from work today, and I was just listening to the debate between people talking about Trump and Biden and withholding their votes. And I still can't believe, after everything we've seen, people don't understand the importance of voting in 2020 and the direct effect that it's going to have on our community if they don't do it. And so,
yeah, let's talk about it. Not the least of which is the local races.
Right, the local races impact you more immediately than the national race. And I can understand the frustration that people have between the choices. But when you think about it, you need to get out there and vote. That's how you voice your choice. That's how you stand up in your community. And then once you vote, you hold people accountable.
Absolutely. And I hope that I took it as if he was going to stand down in the presidential race. I hope he didn't mean he wasn't going to vote at all. Because like you said, Nicole, those local races, those state races, that's where you're going to feel the biggest impact locally at home, wherever you live.
Right. I'm a candidate for drug court in Hamilton County this cycle. And I can tell you from personally being out in the stump that there is definitely a choice between criminal justice reform and business as usual in Hamilton County. And people really need to get engaged. They need to register to vote. They need to correct their voter registration information. They need to request their absentee ballot. They need to get a plan to vote and make sure they get out there and do it. This year is very, very important.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping we can schedule time and get you on the show. And I know that Donnie wants to get you on her show as well.
I didn't know that. I hadn't talked to her. She has my number, though. I'm surprised she hasn't called me.
Okay. She'll be in contact, I'm sure. But I definitely want to get you to come on the Nathan Ivey Show and talk about your platform and talk about your campaign.
All right. Well, we'll have to schedule that one day when I'm not scheduled to work because unlike some candidates, I'm working full time. So, we'll have to work it out.
Okay. Oh, for sure. Thanks for the call.
All right. Have a great day.
Yeah, most definitely. That's Nicole Sanders, everybody. Oh, most definitely. Huge choice. If you're not going to vote in the presidential election, okay. Like Nicole said, I get it. I understand the cynicism and you're tired of the same old. But locally, where you live in the state of Ohio, in Hamilton County, with all these races, commissioner, prosecutor, treasurer, sheriff, clerk of courts, you know what I'm saying? All the judges. That's where you're going to feel the biggest bang for your ballot, so to speak. It's going to be right there. We got to stand up for that. So maybe you step out and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to vote for president. Okay. I mean, I would argue otherwise. I think that there's a clear choice between the two, a clear choice in terms of policy and what they're going to bring to the country. I mean, just look at COVID-19. Look at the fiasco, the terrible way the Trump administration, and they still lied about it. And COVID-19 is not over. What do we get hit with COVID-20? Who would you really have at the helm if COVID-20 hits or another pandemic? Trump, who's going to lie about it and play it down and act like he's been doing everything perfect, or somebody who's going to take a mature approach to it and try to deal with it? I know what I want. You tell me, though. Let's go back to the phones. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Ivey. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Judge Barrett on.
I'm sorry?
This is Judge Barrett on.
Oh, Judge Barrett, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Actually, really good. I'm trying to figure this whole. I've been listening to you on my podcast, but when I tried to come in live past couple of days, I haven't been able to do it, and I finally realized with Facebook, I've got to be on the computer and not on my phone.
Right. Yeah, I've been having some issues. So you say you've been listening to the audio only part of the show?
Yeah.
Right.
I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and then I noticed that Cam had mentioned something about watching it, so I realized I could watch it on Facebook, and then you mentioned YouTube several times, so I've seen some of the old shows, but I couldn't figure out exactly how I could get it live, because TuneIn won't let me do it live right now.
Right, because I'm not live on the audio. I'm just going straight video.
Okay.
I have some issues with my audio equipment that I hope to take care of over the weekend by making a replacement. But I'm glad you made it in nonetheless. So are you on YouTube right now or Facebook?
Right now I am watching you on Facebook, but I'm calling in with the direct line.
Okay, cool. It's all good. But I'm glad you made it in.
Thank you.
And
thanks for having me.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, part of this show is a resource for the community. And every election cycle, I try to have as many of the candidates on as possible. I want to talk to everybody. I want to talk with the Democrats, the Independents, the Republicans, so that, number one, it can be an introduction. And what I'm hoping is that we can get a sense of who you are this morning and in general who the candidates are, so that we can be as informed as possible when we go into the ballot. And a lot of people don't like to admit it, but I know what happens because it's happened to me before. You go in, it's like, I've never heard this person before, right? And you got to make a decision right there on the spot. And I want to try to minimize those kind of experiences with my audience as much as possible. At the very least, I want them to have some indication, some kind of familiarity with the individual folks. And I think these judges races are they're way more important than we've ever really spent time talking about, in my opinion. So again, thank you for your time.
Oh, no, thanks for having us on. And I agree with you. I've been a lawyer for over 20 years now, and I still remember when I started out at the public defender's office, I didn't know a lot of the judges who were up in municipal or common pleas or probate, and I was an attorney.
Right.
So a lot of times people never have any contact with judges. And what I like to say, and I don't like to say it, but it's true, is usually when you're in front of a judge, you're having a very bad day. If you're a defendant, if you're a victim, if you're a plaintiff, if you're a defendant, even if you're a witness, most people coming into the courthouse, it is an incredibly stressful situation for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're concerned rightly about themselves and their outcome, and they're really not paying attention to the judge. So I think it's important that we get out in the community, not even during campaign season, but all the time, and just meet with people so people can meet and see what we're about and understand that this, even though we're sitting on the bench with the robe on, we're more human to them, and that they can feel comfortable about talking and expressing what their concerns are, and that we're approachable so that can happen. You can't just sit on the bench. We have to get out in the community and talk with people and understand what their concerns are when we're dealing with everything.
Mm-hmm. Have you always felt that way, like from day one, or is that an opinion that you've gradually come to?
Well, so when I started out at the PD's office, my first day on the job, I was thrown right into court. And at that time, it was not a full-time job. So I was actually a campaign manager for David Crowley, who was a city council candidate, 2001, 2003, and he's since passed. And David, we were out every day after he was elected, before he was elected, working in the community. He was a former social worker. My mother's a social worker. It's always been important that you give back to the community and that you're in the community working with people. So, yeah, it's always carried over before I was even a judge. I've only been on the bench for a little less than 2 years now. And it's tiring sometimes, I'll be honest. We've had a lot of trials. Before COVID hit, we had about 10 jury trials. I'm in court a lot. But it's still important that I get out to community councils, community festivals. I go to bond forums to talk with people, to hear their concerns about the bond system, about the justice system, about incarceration, and talking with people about our civil matters, about how we need to have our dockets expanded so that we're, in court every day, all day, taking care of cases, because there is a lot of stuff we have to do as judges, and it takes a lot of work. But if you're cut off from the community, you just don't get the feedback that you need about what's happening.
What are some of what are some of the common issues that when you're out in the community and talking with people in the community that they bring up about the current bond system? And how do you feel about those concerns?
Well, one of the concerns that I hear a lot is, and it is interesting because we have been talking about it a lot lately, which is great. The more we talk about an issue, the more it comes up, the more people are aware of it, the more smart people we get involved, better solutions that we have. You often hear people say that I'm not in favor of bonds except for, violent crimes. But the bond system works the same way pretty much all the way through with the cash bond system, is that everyone is supposed to have a bond. It can either be a cash, it can be an own recognizance bond. There are ways to have hearings where we don't actually post a bond if it's an extremely violent crime and several conditions are met as to danger to the community. But the main concern I hear, and I agree with, is the minimum bonds. Someone comes in and they're given $1,000 bond at 10%, and it's $100. That's $100. There are fees that are attached to that, and that money has to be paid, so it gives up to about $133. And we have a lot of people who can't afford that. And it's becoming even more pronounced during COVID when we don't have people who are working, when people have limited incomes, that if they get picked up for a minor offense, that they're being held in jail for $133. That's not going to make them come back for a $100 bond. The bond system was originally set up so that if you had money, you could pay the money in and you would return because you had such a large amount of money outstanding. But it shouldn't be set in place so that it is actually keeping you in because you can't pay $100. It's deprives people of their liberty and their freedom before they've been convicted of any crime, and it's inefficient. We don't need to be holding people for those small amounts. And people know that when they come in front of me, a lot of attorneys, we do have a lot of bond hearings for reductions of bond, and I have the attorneys write out in motions why it needs to be done. If the state has an argument, we'll listen to it. And a lot of times the bonds are reduced so the person can be released on their own recognizance. If there is a danger of flight, we have to address that with cash. If it's a serious crime, we have to address that as well too. But we've recently changed the bond requirements that allow us to actually make it a condition of bond now that you enter into a drug treatment. And a lot of the people that come in front of me and a lot of people's concerns are people who have drug issues. And rather than holding them in the jail where we do have a recovery pod now, we can also get them out and get them into treatment before their case is heard and hopefully resolve a lot of the issues that led to them being arrested in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Speaking with Judge Bearden.
That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, I appreciate it because we want the details. We want as much information as possible. You brought up a drug issue and people coming before you. What percentage of your cases or the defendants or people that come before you have drug issues here in your court?
80%. I would say 80% are there specifically because of drug issues. The other 10% are firearm issues right now, and then the last 10% are mostly theft, fraud cases for criminal things.
Do you see a lot of the same people? We talk about the recidivism rate, but do you see a lot of the same people come before you?
I don't. I've been on, like I said, it's been 2.5 years. Had several gentlemen who have come in with severe drug issues. And when we're talking about drug issues, there's usually a mental health component attached to that as well. Undiagnosed but untreated schizophrenia, some organic issues. When I'm talking about that, I mean head injuries that have been documented. And they have come back in front of me. For whatever reason, they're not eligible for drug court. I know Nicole Sanders was on earlier just talking to you, and they come in front of me. We work with probation. We have a mental health unit in probation. We have an intense supervisory probation that can work with those people who have the severe drug problems to make sure that they're getting the treatment that they need. And also, if we throw in the mental health component, the probation officer knows they also need to be under sometimes psychiatric meds or in some other type of counseling so that we can keep them on a path where they're not relapsing. It's difficult. And when I talk to someone who I put on probation who has a drug issue, I have to balance a very fine line of being supportive of knowing if you do have a slip up, I don't want you running. I want you to talk to your probation officer without letting them think that it's okay to have a slip up. It's a balance. And as a judge, it's something I wrestle with every day to try to make sure that I'm helping the people that need help so they don't become more involved in our system. We don't have, and I know Chris Wagner talked to you a bit about this, we don't have the mental health services that we did 20, 40 years ago, where we could place someone in a treatment facility who has diagnosed schizophrenia. And unfortunately, they end up in the criminal justice system way too often with that. As a judge, it's my job to make sure that they get treatment rather than just punishment, right, so that we can deal with the underlying causes.
Right. That was my next question. Like, how do you deal with that? Someone's committed a criminal offense, perhaps a serious criminal offense, but it comes to your attention that they're dealing with a serious drug addiction that's probably impacting their decision making.
Oh God, yeah. When it's, and Mr. Ivey, that's a difficult time. I mean, that's when you've got to go into it because their defense attorney is looking, most likely they've done diagnosis or they've asked for a competency hearing. Was the person competent at the time that they committed the crime? Are they competent now to stand trial? If we find that they're not, and it's me, I find that they're not competent to stand trial or they weren't competent at the time of the offense, then we place them in our Summit Behavioral Center where they are given treatment, and that's usually medical with pharmaceutical treatment as well as counseling. If they can be restored to competency, then at some point they would. I've got several people right now who probably will never be restored to competency, and I receive reports on them, and they stay in Summit. The more troubling cases, though, more difficult cases, are when someone has an underlying mental condition, which is exacerbated by drugs, but they are competent under the law to stand trial. The question, and we really don't have a great system for that. If they are sent up to the penitentiary, the programs in the penitentiary are not as strong as they used to be for rehabilitation, and I always worry, and it is concern about sending someone there who has underlying mental conditions, that they will only get worse and come out of the penitentiary worse than when we sent them in.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. I'm not surprised to hear what you said about, people that have addiction issues, but, there are people who come from impoverished backgrounds or maybe have some childhood trauma, abuse in their background. Is that something that's taken as a factor, when you're dealing with people that have committed criminal offenses? And if so, to what degree?
So as to the guilt and the innocence, it is not. If it's in front of a jury trial, if it goes in front of a panel of jurors, then there really is an issue with it. That doesn't come out at that point. They can bring it up as a defense, as a mitigation as for sentencing. And going over the sentencing guidelines, there are 10 pages of guidelines that I go through when sentencing for a felony. Mental behavior, past trauma are things that I would factor in. The problem is, and this isn't a cop-out, it sounds like it is, but it really isn't, is that we need to be catching these issues before they get to the level where they've committed a major felony and are coming in front of me. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's important that I am out in the community. I am an advocate for mental health. I am an advocate for early childhood learning. I am an advocate for addiction treatment so that we don't have to deal with these issues in the criminal justice system. By the time it's gotten to me, the parents are devastated of the defendant. The victim is either, unfortunately, deceased, very injured, very traumatized. Their entire family is traumatized. And it has just led to a path that has created devastation to everyone. And we're at the end point, unfortunately, when they get to court. I think as judges, we have a responsibility to work in the community to make sure that we have programs that can help prevent people from going down that path. But to answer your question, when it does come to sentencing, it is considered. It is something that always weighs on my mind. It's one of the reasons why we have pre-sentence investigation reports and we have a psychiatrist talk to and evaluate a person's past emotional, mental, and physical history.
Speaking with Judge Thomas Bearden. So, we probably should have started this way, but tell us about the Common Pleas Court and what types of cases come before you.
So the Common Pleas Court is the court that when most people watch Law and Order, it's what you see. It's the Cincinnati version, the Hamilton County version of that court. We deal with serious felony cases. Ranges all the way up from murder down to drug possession, felony of the fifth degree. So felony of the fifth degree to felony of the first degree. That is the majority of my cases during the day. We run a docket from 9 all the way up till 2 o'clock for criminal cases. We also have a civil component, which we handle all civil matters where people are suing each other for $15,000 and above. The majority of my civil docket deals with car accidents where people have been injured, contract disputes where people have broken business contracts with each other, and Bureau of Worker Comp claims, people who have been injured on the job and are appealing the decision of the Bureau of Worker Compensation Commission. I have 2 people who work with me. My bailiff is Adam Iser, and my civil attorney, staff attorney is Ginger Bach. They work with me in processing the cases through. Adam is essential to the docket. He schedules all the cases when we have motions to suppress, when we have plea hearings, when we actually have trials and bench trials. And Ginger schedules all of the civil matters and assists with research and writing for all of our civil decisions. So it is a docket that deals usually with the worst crimes that are committed in Hamilton County, and then we deal with civil matters as well.
And I want to ask you a question. I wonder if you can't answer. I understand there are some limitations as a judge, a sitting judge, that you can't answer, but there is a conversation going on right now about the uptick in gun violence in the city of Cincinnati and what are the causes. So I'd like to get your opinion about that, Judge Bearden. I mean, what do you think are the causes from your perspective in the uptick in violence here in the county and the city?
Okay, I will answer that on the condition that I get your opinion on this as well, because this is something that I've been dealing with this week, which has really been troubling for me. We've had a lot of young men in this week, and by a lot I mean 4, who have pled out to carrying concealed weapon in illegal possession of a firearm. They all had semi-automatic handguns on their persons that were concealed, and they didn't have any other records. Maybe some traffic stuff, just some misdemeanors, no serious felonies. And they were all it was really troubling for me. And I usually don't get into a large conversation or moralizing when a defendant comes in and pleads to a case. But I was stunned that these guys were carrying guns. They were young guys. Why are you doing this? You don't have, nothing I could see would make me think that you would be carrying a gun. Your criminal record, your family is here, and they were all protection. Without every one of them separately told me they were carrying it for protection. And it terrifies me because none of them know how to. I asked them, do any of you have any training on how to shoot a gun, how to properly handle a gun? And no. They just got the gun and from someone and were carrying it around in case someone starts shooting at them. And start talking and ask them to walk. And they are young guys, so they're not thinking everything through clearly. All of them were under 25. And you wonder, did you think about what would happen if you made a mistake and you pulled your gun out for some kid who had a plastic gun or some guy who was reaching for his cell phone? Or maybe someone did pull a gun out at you, but you shot first and you killed him. Have you thought about how that would make you feel, how that would make your family feel? And I just think the availability of guns on the street right now and the ease upon which people can get them are creating just an epidemic with people who aren't thinking and don't realize when you get in that situation how deadly it can be. And I'm not trying to minimize their feelings about they felt that they needed self-defense, but I can't imagine walking into an argument and there are 5 people all with guns, none of them which you know has a gun. One pulls one gun, and then we end up with everyone flailing bullets around. So I don't know the solution on a local level as much as trying to keep all of these guns off the street so they are not as available for everyone to just have. There are too many people out there who are not looking for trouble, who might have a firearm and might do something stupid, which will just have an incredible cascading effect on their life and everyone around them. So that's what I've been seeing lately. Yeah. But I know you've been having conversations about this lately and about big ideas about what we can do to reduce the violence in Cincinnati. And my guess is that you also agree that guns are, if not the number one reason, one of the main reasons why we are seeing the uptick in everything right now.
Well, I mean, Judge, that certainly plays a role. For me, I think it's multifaceted. I think it's a history inside the community of self-loathing, despising oneself, a lack of self-esteem. I think it's long-term trauma in some ways. I think it's the availability of guns, but it's really the person that pulls the trigger, right? Because the gun is just an inanimate object. There was a time, my uncle grew up in the city, and he used to tell me stories, right? He was a street dude. He used to tell me stories about getting into fist fights with a pistol in his back pocket and never went for the pistol. It was just a fist fight, right?
Right.
So it's not the gun. It's the mentality of the individual, how you look at yourself and how you look at the other individual, right? That's what it really comes down to. I think so, and again, I don't know if you can talk any details, but were there any similarities between these 4 young men other than the fact that they, used a weapon? Was there any similarities in their backgrounds, in their upkeep? In the way they were raised?
No, they were all pretty much, and without getting too much specifics, but they were all were high school graduates. A couple had college credits. A couple were actually, one gentleman was enrolled, I think, in the Blue Ash branch. There was no allegation that they had really brandished the firearm. They had just, 2 of the guys I remember specifically, the way they were carrying it was fairly obvious, even though it was concealed. And it was what struck me, because I've dealt with concealed weapons before. I was a prosecutor at the city of Cincinnati, and I was a juvenile public defender. And like you said, there were guns even back in the early 2000s. But usually when we saw guns, it was people who had a history of either violence or there were some narcotic issues involved. But none of the gentlemen who were in front of me had any issues with drugs that showed up in our pre-sentence investigation report. All were, employed or in school. That's what it really threw me off. And I remember what you just said about your uncle, about having a gun. It's just, I think there is a difference right now with just the availability of them being out there and being available for people to have. And I don't mean to stutter, but it just scares the daylights out of me. I don't like thought of this good kid, young man who was in front of me making a mistake by pulling that gun and ruining his life and someone else's life. And if there is a way that we can figure out so that people don't feel that they need to carry a gun, while I don't agree with that, they still feel that they need to carry a gun. We need to figure out, like you were talking about, the systemic problems within the community and within the city that make people feel that they need that gun either to feel safe or to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, I got mixed feelings on it though, Judge Bearden, because this is an open carry state. And as long as you are of a certain age, and what's the age limit to openly carry or to own a weapon in Ohio? Do you know offhand?
18. I think, no, 16. 16 purchase, so it'd be 16 to open carry. It'd be 16 to open carry. And you're right, it is an open carry state. It is an open carry state.
And people openly carry weapons because they feel insecure. That's the reason why people have guns. And so I'm different. Like, there's some people, I'm not suggesting this is you, but I've heard this in the media, and I've interpreted this from people where it's kind of like, we got to get the guns. And as a black man, I hear it as, we got to get the guns out of the hands of black people, black youth. I don't have a problem with it as long as it's done legally, because that's what the law is.
Well, okay. All right, let me jump in real quick. And that's one of the things that we did talk about. I mean, I've shot before. And my father owned guns. We went out to Target World. You know, my grandfather had a farm in Louisiana. We shot out there. I've shot rifles. I don't feel comfortable carrying a weapon for self-defense. I'm not trained to carry it. But I do know that there are a lot of CCW classes out there, concealed weapon classes out there that teach people the basic tenets of moving with a firearm, how to use a firearm for self-defense, and teach you the basic rules. My father had one rule when shooting. If you ever point a gun at something living, your intent is to kill it. And that always has stuck with me. But these guys don't have any training with the guns. They're carrying them not in holsters. They're in, back waistbands, just waiting to slip, waiting to go off. I don't think disarming people is the question. I think the people, if you want to carry a firearm, though, and this is the other thing, they all got charged with a concealed weapon charge. They can still go out and get their concealed carry permit. That's not a prohibition. They're allowed to still do that. They're not prohibited from carrying firearms to the charges they pled to. But, I mean, that one, I think there's other issues with it, but I understand exactly where you're coming from about disarming. I think proper carrying of firearms when done responsibly is well within the Constitution and legally.
Right.
Open carry always, I've got a lot of other issues with open carry, but that's just people trying to intimidate other people with semi-automatic weapons walking around. But I think that's a different thing.
No, and there are people that I know of in the community, in the black community, that have advocated for more gun training for people in general and for younger people, because again, carrying a weapon is legal as long as you meet the legal parameters. It's are you proficient? Do you know how to properly carry a weapon so that you're safe and the safety of the people around you? And, are you proficient enough that if you need to pull it, and hopefully you do not, that you actually hit your target and not some innocent bystanders? Because, when I hear what you said about these 4 young men said they were unsafe, that's the reason why people carry guns and buy guns, because they feel unsafe, whether it's in their home or, just being out in the public or whatever. And I also think COVID-19 is playing a part on everyone's mentality. I feel like there's a lot of frayed tempers out here. Tensions are high. When human beings are put in uncomfortable situations, they react. Are you seeing any different type of cases during COVID-19 that you saw before?
That's a good question. No, we really, I thought we would see a decrease in some of our drug possession cases, but I think hindsight being what you just talked about, people being insecure, I think that a lot of people have gone to narcotics, and we have seen the same number of cases with those. Violent crime has, as we know, has stayed about the same and gotten a little bit worse. It's pretty much stayed the same. The one issue we had is that the Supreme Court told our time for about 3 months, starting in March and ending July 31st, where speedy trial time was told, civil filing time was told. So a lot of our cases slowed down. We weren't able to have jury trials for a while in the courthouse due to the high level of COVID and the inability to maintain quarantine and spacing procedures. We've since fixed that. I went to Zoom pretty quickly once we hit lockdown, so I could keep having a docket. We were able to have defendants from the Justice Center come over Zoom. We were able to have our prosecutor be via Zoom. We were able to have a court reporter and our defense attorneys and still continue on with our docket. But with the level of charges, they pretty much stayed about the same for different types of offenses. I just think people, and I think you hit it right on the head. I think where some people would have thought shelter in place, a lot of people just felt very insecure by it. And I think that just kept up the normal levels of what we were seeing for people going out and doing things, or allegedly doing things that, violated the law.
Mm-hmm. Speaking with Judge Beard, and he's running for re-election in Common Pleas Court here in Hamilton County. Man, for me, it's like if you were already doing drugs, the anxiety, feeling social anxiety, isolation, or whatever, is just probably going to make you do more of it to cope getting through COVID-19. I mean, quite honestly, I'm amazed that the way some people are reacting to it. I haven't felt the same thing, but I have introvert qualities, so I've been working from home anyway, so it's not really a big deal for me. It's just, it seems like a continuation of what I do. That's interesting. That's fascinating. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, the insight with those cases there is fascinating. And again, I ask you because we hear from the politicians, we hear from the mayor, we hear from the police chief, we hear from the community, we hear from the family, but your court is a part of this whole process that we see in the headlines as well. So that's why I wanted to ask you and get your viewpoint about what you see and how you feel about it. Are there any? Well, I'll say this. I'll give you the final word so that you can just talk directly to the audience and tell us why you think you should be reelected.
Okay. Well, first off, I appreciate this. It's great. I've never done anything like this before. This is the first interview that I've done since I've been on the bench, and I really appreciate you giving me the chance to talk about
for sure
what's going on in my courtroom and what I'm concerned about. I'm running for re-election. It was an unexpired term. Our terms are normally 6 years. Like I said, I've been on the bench for almost 2 years now. When I ran on the fact of bringing fairness back to the courthouse and making sure that everyone's voice was heard and had equal access to justice. And that's an incredibly nuanced statement to make. And from sitting on the bench, though, it's become a lot clearer to me what needs to be done and what we're not doing right. One of the things that concerned me when I ran was that we did not have a lot of jury trials in Hamilton County. A lot of people didn't feel that we were doing enough to make sure that defendants had their day in court where they could voice their concerns and their defenses in an unbiased manner. And we brought jury trials back in my room. We've had 10 jury trials so far. My best story about that is we had a gentleman who, going back to our earlier conversation about mental health issues, had some issues. He had got charged with several crimes, and in the course of the court proceedings for those, picked up some new charges. He was representing himself pro se. He was representing himself without an attorney. And I had been a judge for maybe 6 months at this time, so this was a big thing. There's a lot of rules that I have to follow if someone goes forward without an attorney to make sure they're being represented properly. And we went through all of this every time he came in, and he always wanted to go without. So we had the first trial. And to his credit, he convinced a jury, and it was the state's burden to prove his guilt. But I think him testifying and his questioning did an incredible job of showing that he was guilty of one of the charges that he was charged with, but not guilty of the other. And that's what the jury found. They found him guilty of one, dismissed the other. He, at that point though, and this is where I felt we had done a good job in the courtroom, we had an attorney who was basically shadowing him, answering any questions. At that point, he decided that he wanted that attorney retained. At that point, he had gained enough trust in me as the judge and the court procedures that he knew that the attorney that was going to be assigned to him was there to help him, not there to hurt him. And we do get that sometimes with people, and I've heard that question raised before, and this public pretender for public defenders. I was a public defender for 4 years. We have incredible public defenders in Hamilton County who work their asses off every day to represent their clients and do an incredible job. And I just like to make sure that when someone comes into my courtroom, they know that they will have a fair trial, that the rules will be followed, that they will be treated with respect and patience, even if they are a pro se defendant. That's one of the things I'm most proud of, is having a court that people feel comfortable and feel encouraged to try their grievances and do not worry about anything else peripheral. They're just here on the case. That's what we're concerned about. The deputies know to check my room late because we're usually there trying a case, getting something resolved. And that's what we should be doing. Most people don't see that, though. If you're in front of me, you see that. If you're not, don't. As a judge, though, I need to be out in the community talking to people about why juries matter, about why we need everyone to show up for jury duty, why we need people to return the summons, why people need to come forth and testify, why people need to come in when they're subpoenaed as witnesses for a criminal or a civil case. I can't talk about specific cases, but I can talk about how if the community is involved, our justice system works better. And it's my job as a judge is to make sure that that happens. So expanding juries, making sure that we are getting a diverse jury pool in. I don't want anyone ever to come in my courtroom and feel that if they request a jury either for a civil or criminal trial, that they're not seeing a reflective pool of our community. And I've been lucky. And I think from a lot of attorneys I've talked to that luck is part of it, that I've had very diverse jury pools. I've had people of different ethnicities, different ages, different backgrounds. I've had all the way up from a Ceylonese immigrant who was a naturalized citizen who was 65 years old, all the way down to a 19-year-old UC college student, been on the same jury together. And it's important that people, when they come in, know that they will be treated with respect. That includes jurors. So getting that open. We've been talking, and I think it's something that we are going to be doing, is expanding our jury pool. Right now, we just have everything from the voter registration, which is a big pool. But I think we can expand it even more if we include people with the driver's license or the state IDs.
Right.
We've also been talking about using tax IDs to keep the addresses up to date. The tax ID might be a little more expensive, but what I'm worried about is when we send out jury summons when they come back and they haven't been delivered because someone's moved because we're using the old voter registration. And a lot of people don't update their voter registration when they move until right before the election. So I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to serve on a jury. It's kind of a dirty little secret. People love serving on juries. I've only had one person out of the 10 juries that we've had, one juror who did not want to be there and was very vocal about it. Everyone else has wanted to be on the jury. They have been eager. They've shown up each day for duty, attentive and ready to go. So I think we need to expand that to everyone so everyone gets the opportunity to do it. I think when you come into a jury, it gives you a much better appreciation of the judicial system, be it criminal or civil, and that just expands the knowledge all throughout the community. So we're not mysterious. So people are not intimidated. They understand it's a place, it's a branch of government, it's their court. And that's the message that I keep wanting to push out, is that come into my courtroom. We do a lot of stuff right now via Zoom because of the COVID, but we can let you in via the Zoom. When the COVID restrictions come up, you can come in and observe my courtroom. I encourage it. I like the feedback. Most of the time, the feedback is pretty positive and very cordial. Every once in a while, it's not. But as a judge, you have to take that, and you have to take criticism as well as the constructive criticism.
Yeah. Judge Bearden, appreciate your time. But real quick, though, just hearing you talk just conjures up maybe a couple more questions. I mean, do cases ever stick with you? I know you're supposed to deal with it and move on, but have you ever made a decision and just had some sleepless nights about it?
A lot. Difficult sometimes. You're judging a human being when you're sentencing someone and you're weighing the impact that their crime did on a person in the community, and then, as we talked about earlier, their background and what led them to there. It does keep you up at night. Mm-hmm. So pre-sentencing is a long time. It's something that I take a lot of time to go over, and it weighs on me very heavily when making a decision about someone's future that way. I don't take it lightly, and it does stay with me, and it should. I should be thinking about those things when I'm sentencing someone, and I'm thinking about how it's going to affect their life, the victim's life. Those are things that need to keep weighing on you, and that you need to spend a lot of time on them so that you don't doubt yourself. I don't want to be in a situation where I look at a decision and wonder why I did that. I need to spend the time to research it, think it through, and make it clear as to why I'm giving the sentence that I'm giving. And those do weigh heavy on you. It is not, it's very hard, and it should be.
And Hamilton County is not really a big place. You know, we say it all the time. Cincinnati is very small. Have you ever ran into either defendants or people that were involved in cases like out in public? And what was that like?
I've only been on the bench for about 2 years now. Like I said, it doesn't happen that much yet. I'm sure it will. My wife actually has a funny story. When I was working on the campaigns with David and I was still a public defender, and someone referred to me as Mr. Baradon, she knew right away that it was probably a former client. And I've never had an issue with it, knock on wood, as a prosecutor, as a public defender, and as a judge. Most people that I've run into, and even the few from court, have been very respectful. We usually acknowledge each other. With defendants, usually that's all it is just a brief acknowledgement, a head nod, and keeping moving. I haven't had anyone come up and confront me. The one thing about Cincinnati in Hamilton County is that as much as we do have issues, we are an incredibly polite and cordial place. People do respect each other, I think, in a lot of ways. And while I have to be aware, it's not something that overly concerns me. I haven't had any reason to. My hope is that my courtroom's one that people are treated with respect, and that carries out into the community as well.
Right. All right. Well, Judge Baradon, thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate you, and good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And one quick question.
Sure.
When is the judicial candidates forum? I know we were talking about that earlier, but I don't have a set date. Is there one with the NAACP at this point?
I know that they are working on more as we get closer to November, but I'm not privy to that information. Some of them may be listening. Perhaps they may share that information this morning, but I don't have that information top of mind. I'm not aware of it. But I do know they're working on more forums into September, October, right before the election.
Okay.
And what is your website?
I'll keep my eyes out.
What is your website?
It's Judge Baradon. It's judgebaradon.com.
JudgeBaradon.com. Okay. Thank you so much, Judge.
No, thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the conversation. I appreciate your interest.
Yes, most def. That's Judge Baradon. He has a very pleasant voice. Very easy to listen to. And that's my first time having a conversation with him. You know, I have a positive vibe from him. I just got to be honest with you. I get a positive vibe from the guy. I don't know him. I've never met him before. It's my first time having a conversation with him, but I get a positive vibe from him. I'm not saying that everything he's ever done is every right, but that's just my personal opinion. What's your opinion? What do you think? 513-873-7134. Very interesting. Yeah, we always want to disarm the black community, but I mean, you know, as he said, 16 in Hamilton County and state of Ohio. And if these young kids are saying they feel like they're unsafe, it's probably, and I think, who said it? Someone said it best this morning, that because there's so many guns out there, someone says October is judicial from the NAACP. Judge Baradon, if you're still watching, October is judicial. And I'm not sure if I'll be a part of it. They may get someone from the Black Lawyers Association, somebody who's probably more qualified than I am to lead those and moderate those debates. Yeah, October. So I do know, well, I did remember some conversation, but TNT is now confirming it's in October. I'm sure it'll be great. I'll be tuning in. It's going to be a good time. Very, very important. Very, very important. Because like I said, they can't talk about specific cases, and I've learned what they can and cannot talk about, but we can still get a sense of who they are as people, what's important to them. And so what's... Oh, okay. Somebody's it's text messages. So what's your take on Judge Baradon? What do you think? Quite interesting. He shared a little bit about some of those cases. In his opinion, it's just the availability of guns is a huge issue. But how do you limit the availability of guns in an open carry state where you can have a gun at 16? You know, I think it's the mentality. I think the mentality is shifted. Like I told you, my uncle was in the streets. He was in the streets of Walnut Hills, Evanston, running the streets with him and his crew. And he would tell me stories about how he and his guys used to get into fist fights with pistols in their back pockets. Never went for the pistol. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, it seems like that's the first thing dudes want to go for. It's a mentality shift. It's not the gun itself. It's the mentality of the person that's carrying the gun. You know what I'm saying? I could have a gun on me and get into it with somebody and it not need to be lethal. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You just want these paws. You want this. You can get this without getting something that's more serious. That seems perfectly logical to me. But that's me though. That's me. But I appreciate his time this morning. I think it was very, very interesting. As I said, it's election season, so you're going to hear even more. I want to talk to all the judges. I want to talk to everyone who's running. Democrats, Republicans, Independents. I want to talk with you on this show, with this audience, so we can be familiar at the very least. I mean, some access point to say, oh, yeah, I heard him on Nate's show. Maybe you hear him on another show, and you can take all the information together. And I know that Donnie's going to be talking with candidates as well, judicial candidates. And as a lawyer who's been practicing, she's going to bring insight that I just don't have. So I'm sure it'll make the conversation very interesting. So I'll let you know. And I'm sure she'll let you know as well, you know, when those conversations are going to be had. Again, as many conversations as possible. As many conversations. I hope you hear Judge Barrett on with other folks. And then you can sit back and say, oh, okay, and get a sense of who these individuals are as people, which I think is very important, and where their perspective is in terms of how they're going to do their jobs, and even their personal politics. You know, how they come across, what's important to them. Information is power. I want you to be powerful when you walk into the ballot. Well, you may, COVID-19, you might be, you know, doing a take-home ballot, or you're going to send it in absentee or whatever. But whenever you make that decision, I want you to have as much information as possible. And that's one of many things that I want to do with this particular show. Okay, what's the point of having a show if you're not going to do that during election season? You know what I'm saying? It just makes sense to me. Ray, I'm just seeing this. Nathan has asked if he's ever had to recuse himself. I'm sorry, I missed that. David writes, October is the judicial. Jordan writes, who is running against him? Let me see. Glenn writes, great interview conversation. That's what it felt like. More of a conversation than an interview. I was impressed. Yeah, he did all the talking. I think it was the way he came across. I like more of a conversation than an interview anyway. I like that better. That's more my style. I just want to pick your brain. I want to just ask you some questions and get a sense of who you are. And again, the more people talk, the more you get a sense of who they are. You know what I'm saying? That's all you got to do is let the ball roll. They'll do the rest. Appreciate it. Kara Mitchell writes, I agree with you, Nate. Seems like a good guy. I wish my daughter went in front of him instead of Ruhlman. Yeah, I mean, that's just, again, I don't know Judge Bearden. I do not know him personally. This is my first introduction. Those are my gut instincts, my initial reaction. And it'd be interesting to see him operate inside of his court. The one question that I just for missing my duties is I wanted to ask him, has he ever visited the prisons that he sends people to? I think that's should be an important part of it as well. I think the judges, number one, I'm in favor of judges that have been public defenders and have that experience. I think that's super important because a lot of times we hear, oh, there was a prosecutor to become a judge. Okay, if that's the route they take, it's the route they take. But I think judges who've been defendants, right, that have defended people have an invaluable insight. They're going to bring something different to the game than if you're just a prosecutor. They're going to have a whole different viewpoint, a whole different understanding. I think it's also important for judges to visit these detention facilities that they're sending people to. You know, it might be small or whatever, but I think that's important. I know the NAACP, now that I say this, I think the NAACP, now that I know that the NAACP was trying to do that as well, maybe a few years back when we were talking about judges. What was it, 2 years ago, maybe TNT? I'm not sure how successful they were. They wanted some of the judges to visit the Hamilton County lockup facility. I think that's important. I think it's important to understand and see where you're sending people. I think it'll have an impact on sentencing, a positive impact on sentencing. That's just me. I'm spitballing. I'm just a dude on the radio, on the internet. I'm just giving you my thoughts. I think a well-rounded person who becomes judge is better than just a person who was just a straight up prosecutor and they worked in the prosecutor's office. They know how to get a conviction. They know how to lock people up, but they're not really in the community. I'm fond of elected officials that have community work, experience, interactions prior to becoming a candidate because it says something about who they are, like who they really are. Like anybody can run out here and start doing stuff when you're going to become a candidate because it's always about self-interest. You know what I'm saying? But who are you? What is your role? How do you see yourself? And he said he sees himself as, it's very important to have a connection with the community. I think that's important. Like I said, elected officials, you should be listening to people. I don't care what it is. You should be out there. And I've seen people. And when I see elected officials, I've gone to some of these protests, and a lot of times they're just standing around, but they're there. That means a lot. That means a lot because it says that what they understand what it's all about. It's about community. It's about the people that you represent, even the ones that might not like you or disagree with you. You know what I'm saying? And, I don't shout them out or put their business out there or try to play favors. But like I say, when I go to community events and I can just see like, oh, okay, he's here, she's here. I don't always say nothing, but in my head, I'm thinking, that's what you should be doing. Check mark. Boom. You should be here. And I've seen elected officials who you would think their job is not even directly related to the particular event that they're at. You might think that, but they're there. It says a lot about them. It says a lot about them. Positive things about them. So when Bruce Hoffbauer is sitting around like, wow, I ain't see no reason in going down here. You want to be the Hamilton County Sheriff, the top law enforcement official in Hamilton County. Right now, there's a big question about the relationship between law enforcement and the people. And you don't want to go down there? It says a lot. I know I keep harping on it, but I mean, why else am I here if I'm not to give you my honest thoughts about it? I don't want to go down there and be another problem for law enforcement. What makes you think you're going to be a problem for law enforcement? You're going to go down there and start tearing up stuff? You're running for Hamilton County Sheriff. Go down there and just be a fly on the wall. You don't have to grab the microphone. Just be a fly on the wall and get a sense of what people's frustrations are. All it's going to do is give you more information and make you better at decision making and give you more experiences. I'm down there and I'm not even running. I'm just an independent media guy. I'm not running for ish. I'm down there listening, just taking it in. Yeah, I'm documenting, but I'm listening. Okay. Here's what people think. Okay, here's a different perspective. If you're not willing to sit down and honestly listen, don't talk, you don't have to say nothing. Man, I've gone to some of these forums and these protests when protests was really hot, and I've seen council members, I've seen all kinds of folks. They just fly on the wall, just listening. And if people come up to them and have questions, then they answer their questions or give them a card or, make a connection point or whatever, but they're just listening. Just listen. They're not taking a microphone. They're not grandstanding. They're just listening. Like, okay. Okay. Yeah, this is where people coming from. Okay, great. Okay, got you. That's something new. That's what we need. Oh, those are the kind of leaders that we need. Those are the kind of leaders that we need that understand that in today's world, in today's climate, that if you're an elected official, your responsibility to the people that you represent, no matter what the job is bigger than just the job itself. It's bigger than just the defined responsibilities, in my humble opinion. But what do you think? Hey, listen, family, we're a little bit after 10 a.m. this morning, and I got to make a move. I really appreciate you being here. Let me jump around a little bit because there were numerous things that have happened within really even the last 36 hours that I want to bring to your attention. Some of these things are more important than other things. I'm reading that New Jersey is moving forward on making calls, race-based calls, using 911, weaponizing 911 is now illegal. It's going to be illegal in New Jersey. And as you know, I have a petition that has been circulating that have many thousands of people that agree with it, that here in the city of Cincinnati, we need to pass a similar law to protect Black folks, to protect citizens who might be the victim of someone trying to weaponize the police. It's so funny because I use that language. And then also in New York, I read an article just yesterday that used a similar phrase. New York is about to stop the weaponization of 911, because that's exactly what it is. And I'm still urging City Council to do that. I do have some updates what I can share with you on another show. There is interest from at least one City Council person who is going to work to make this happen. And I did get some information from a member of City Council about this as well. And I think this is something that is worthy of it. And I want to help to lead the charge on this and get some movement along with a lot of other very concerned individuals to try to make this happen in the city of Cincinnati. I think it's very, very important. They're doing it in New Jersey, California, New York. We need to be a part of that. Cincinnati has an opportunity to lead as it relates to this. And we shouldn't be sitting on the sidelines talking about what the possible ramifications may be. Some things need to be done because it's the right thing. Some fights need to be fought because it's the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Despite whatever resistance or whatever might be out there, sometimes you got to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, despite what anybody says. And that's what they're doing in New Jersey. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signed a new law making it illegal to call 911 emergency services with the goal of intimidating somebody based on their race, gender, and religion. And I can see a time in the not so near future where Cincinnati passes something very similar, so that we don't see something that we saw in Beaver Creek happen here. Okay. Now, no law is necessarily going to prevent somebody, but it can seriously dissuade someone. It can seriously dissuade someone. And rather than wait, and again, the police in Cincinnati have better things to do than to end up being a personal police force for somebody that's got an axe to grind based upon some racial or gender or religious bias. Okay, I'll give you more information about this next week. And I still feel very confident that this will happen in the city of Cincinnati. I still feel very confident. And if you would like to play a role in it, there is room for you as well. I know you feel the same way because I know many of you have signed a petition. And I appreciate that because that shows local politicians that there is a lot of support for this, despite whatever resistance that you might come into. So I appreciate it. They're doing big things in the Garden State. What is Cincinnati going to do? Mr. John Cranley, you should get behind this as well. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about it next week. What else here? Okay, yeah, U.S. Intel. Oh, yeah, this is very quick. Some quick hitters before we leave. U.S. intelligence is warning that Russia. Hold on one second. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. U.S. intelligence is warning.
I'm your host, Mario Turner.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Gria. I appreciate it. U.S. intelligence is warning that Russia, think about this, is amplifying claims of mail-in voter fraud. It's funny because guess who else has been amplifying claims about mail-in voter fraud? That's right, your president, Donald Trump. What? The Russians are back? That's right, folks, the Russians are back. They love Donald Trump in office. They love it. They love it. They love Trump. Remember when Trump was basically getting on his knees and kissing the ring of the Russian hierarchy? Remember when he had that joint press conference? He was like, well, I don't know why Russia would do that. Remember this? Russia, if you're listening, can you find the 30,000 emails? The Russians love Trump in office. And now they're amplifying the same message that Trump has been amplifying about mail-in voter fraud. Why? Why is Trump doing this? He's doing this because he wants to impact and influence the electorate to try to get 4 more years in office. And the Russians, this is coming from U.S. Intel, the Russians are doing it again. Quote, Russia is interfering with the presidential election by promoting false claims about mail-in voter fraud. This is according to an intelligence bulletin issued by the Department of Homeland Security. That's Trump's Department of Homeland Security. Think about that. Something to think about. So when you hear these trolls out here on social media, you never know who it really is. The Russians was heavy influencing the U.S. election process back in 2016. They're going to try it again. It's human nature. If you finesse the situation once, most people are going to try to go back and finesse it a second time. It is what it is. That's how it works. Keep your eyes open, family. I can go on and on. There's a lot of little things that are happening, but I will not. I'll leave it like that. Have an excellent rest of your day. To John Gray and whoever else that the definition fits for, stop blaming the devil for the dirt that you do. I hate it when I hear these people do this. These religious figures get caught with their hand in the jar, or they get caught with a girlfriend. They want to blame everybody but themselves. It's you, John Gray. It's you. It ain't the devil. It's not, what do you call it, witchcraft. It's none of that. It's you, buddy. Get yourself together, buddy. Period. I'll leave it just like that. Have a happy rest of your day. Don't forget, coming up at 12:30 today, Is It Just Me podcast with Donnie B. On Sunday, the Dope Chicks Collective, okay, with Danny Blue and the crew, all right, dope black women, talking about very complicated issues and also offering solutions as well. So you can check them out on Sin Digital, and also you can connect with them directly on Facebook. They have a Facebook group, the Dope Chicks Collective. I'll talk with you later on. Thank you for being here. Please like and share today's stream. And until next time, I'm Nathan Ivey.